biggest blunder of my life. My husband randomly decided to join my cooking class and caught me. Have you ever wondered about why most marriages always ended up in shambles because of the overlooked ripples that were brewing underneath? The ripples come in various ways, but mine was different. It started with a harmless cooking class I took to perfect my cooking creativity. Little did I know that it would destroy the essence of the marriage I have put together for years. For privacy, I won't disclose my husband's name by using a fake. I'm Remy Wells, a 32-year-old food stylist with a flair for creating culinary masterpieces. My career in food started as a way to cope with the stress of my previous job as an event planner. After years of coordinating weddings and corporate events, I found myself burnt out and craving creativity. I enrolled in a cooking class. I loved the idea of transforming a simple dish into a work of art, and soon I was styling food for local restaurants and magazines. My life took a dramatic turn when I met my husband, Asher, at a mutual friend's housewarming party. He was a friend of a friend, and I remember being introduced to him in the kitchen, where he was attempting to impress everyone with his grilling skills. Asher was working as a sales representative for a small insurance company at the time, and I was struck by his easygoing nature and his ability to make everyone feel at ease. We talked for hours, and I was drawn to his kind heart, his sense of humor, and his ambition to succeed in his humble career. We started dating soon after, and I was swept off my feet by his romantic gestures, his thoughtfulness, and his unwavering support. We got married a year later, and I thought I had found my happily ever after. But as time went on, I found myself feeling unfulfilled and restless. The spark that once burned so brightly between us began to fade, and I felt like I was just going through the motions of marriage. People change, and when they do, their actions often follow suit. It's a subtle shift, but one that can have far-reaching consequences. I've seen it happen to friends, family, and even myself. And then there's my husband, Asher. He was never the type to take an interest in cooking, content to leave the culinary duties to me. But as I've learned, people can surprise you. The biggest blunder of my life was when my husband randomly decided to join my cooking class and caught me in a compromising position with Daniel, my cooking instructor. I had grown complacent in my deception, thinking I had covered my tracks well enough. But Asher's sudden interest in cooking exposed me, and now I'm faced with the consequences of my actions. But despite Asher's many wonderful qualities, he had one flaw that I couldn't ignore: his old-fashioned views on marriage and family. He believed that I should be content with being a stay-at-home mom, dedicating myself to raising Caddy and managing the household. He saw his role as the sole breadwinner, and while he worked hard, his job wasn't paying enough to support our growing expenses. I felt suffocated by his traditional expectations, longing for a career of my own and financial independence. I wanted to contribute to our family's well-being, not just be a dependent wife. But Asher saw my desire for work as a betrayal, a sign that I wasn't committed to our family. He didn't understand that I needed something more, something that would fulfill me and make me happy. His stubbornness on this issue created tension in our marriage, and I began to feel resentful. I felt like I was living in a time warp, trapped in a role that didn't suit me. And that's when I met Daniel, my cooking instructor, who embodied everything Asher was not: modern, progressive, and passionate about life. He represented the freedom and excitement I craved, and I was drawn to him like a moth to flame. I met Daniel on a whim, signing up for a cooking class at a local culinary school. I needed a break from the monotony of my daily routine, and cooking had always been a passion of mine. Daniel was our instructor, and from the moment he walked in, I was struck by his energy and charisma. He was modern, forward-thinking, and had a way of making everyone feel at ease. As we cooked together, I found myself drawn to his views on women and marriage. He believed in equality, in partnership, and in supporting each other's dreams. He saw women as individuals, not just caregivers or homemakers. His perspective was refreshing, and I found myself opening up to him in ways I never had with Asher. Daniel was impressed by my culinary skills and encouraged me to take my passion to the next level. He saw the creativity and joy that cooking brought me, and he wanted to help me share that with others. We started meeting outside of class, exploring the city's food scene and talking about our dreams. He was everything Asher wasn't: spontaneous, adventurous, and unapologetically himself, and I was drawn to him like a magnet. The affair between Daniel and I started with innocent conversations about food, cooking techniques, and restaurant recommendations. Daniel would often ask for my input on new recipes or flavor combinations, and I found myself looking forward to his questions. As our conversations grew more frequent, I began to notice the way Daniel's eyes crinkled at the corners when he smiled, the way his hair curled slightly at the nape of his neck. I felt a flutter in my chest, but I brushed it off as mere friendship. One evening, as we were checking out a new food market, Daniel turned to me and asked me about the most spontaneous thing I had ever done. I laughed, feeling a spark of mischief, and told him about the time I'd taken a last-minute road trip to the beach. He listened, his eyes locked on mine, and I felt a jolt of connection. After that, our conversations took on a new tone. We'd touch arms while cooking or brush hands while reaching for the same ingredient. The tension between us grew until finally we shared a kiss in the kitchen, the air thick with the scent of garlic and olive oil. It was like a dam had burst, releasing a torrent of emotions and desires. We knew it was wrong, that we were both married, but we couldn't help ourselves. The affair had begun, and we were powerless to stop it. Yes, I know you thought Daniel was single, but no, I knew Daniel was married, just as I was. He wore a wedding ring, and occasionally he'd mention his wife Sarah. But we never discussed our marriages in depth, as if we both understood that some topics were off limits. I remember the first time I saw a photo of Sarah on Daniel's phone. We were cooking together, and he received a text from her. He smiled, and I caught a glimpse of a woman with long curly brown hair and a bright smile. I felt a pang of guilt, knowing that I was developing feelings for a married man. But I pushed those thoughts aside, convincing myself that our connection was harmless. We were just friends after all. Yet, as our relationship deepened, I couldn't help but wonder about Sarah. What was she like? Did she know about me? I knew I wasn't the only one with secrets, though. Daniel occasionally received mysterious texts, and he'd excuse himself to take calls from unknown numbers. I suspected he might be hiding something, but I didn't press the issue. We both knew the risks, but we couldn't resist each other. And so, we continued to see each other, always looking over our shoulders, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Asher's sudden appearance in the kitchen caught us off guard. The other women had already left the cooking class, and Daniel and I were alone, lost in our own little world. We were kissing, our lips locked in a passionate embrace, when Asher walked in. He dropped the container of fresh basil I had asked him to pick up for me, and it shattered on the floor. The sound broke the spell, and we sprang apart, guilty and flushed. I remembered then that I had called him earlier, asking him to bring the basil to the culinary school. I had forgotten, caught up in my own exploits. After that day, I stopped going to the cooking class. I couldn't face Daniel, and I couldn't bear the thought of Asher's disapproving gaze. I tried to appease my husband, to make amends for my betrayal. I begged him to forgive me, to give me another chance. I cooked his favorite meals, wore the clothes he liked, and pretended to be the wife he wanted me to be. But the spark was gone, and I knew it. I was just going through the motions, trying to salvage what was left of our marriage. Asher was distant, cold, and detached. He didn't yell or scream, but his silence was deafening. I knew I had hurt him deeply, and I didn't blame him for his anger. I had broken his trust, and I didn't know how to repair it. Asher's silence and distance weren't just because of Daniel. I knew that. It was because he had caught me before with another man, in another moment of weakness. I had thought that incident was buried, that Asher had forgiven me, but now I realized that the wound was still open. It was a few years ago when we were still living in the city. I had met a man, Alex, at a conference for work. He was charming, successful, and attentive. I was lonely, feeling trapped in my marriage, and I fell for his advances. We had a brief affair, but it ended when Asher caught us together in a hotel room. I remembered the look on his face, the shock, the anger, the disappointment. I had begged for forgiveness, promised it would never happen again, and it didn't, until Daniel. But now I realized that Asher's trust was broken, irreparably. He couldn't look at me because he saw me as a cheater, a liar, a woman who couldn't be faithful. and I didn't blame him. I saw myself the same way. Asher didn't just withdraw from me, he also went to report my transgressions to my family. I knew I was in trouble when I saw my parents, my siblings, and even my aunt and uncle gathered in our living room. They all looked at me with disappointment and shame, as if I had brought dishonor to the family. He told them everything, about Daniel, about Alex, about my lies and deception. He painted me as a villain, a woman who couldn't be trusted, and my family ate it up, chastising me, begging Asher to forgive me and take me back. My mother cried, my father lectured, my siblings looked at me with disgust. I felt like I was on trial, like I was the worst person in the world. And Asher, he just sat there, his expression smug, like he had won some kind of victory. I tried to defend myself, to explain, but no one wanted to listen. They just wanted to shame me, to make me feel small. And Asher, he just sat there, enjoying the show. The days that followed were a blur of shame and anger. I felt hurt and betrayed by Asher's decision to report me to my family. I knew I had made mistakes, but I didn't think I deserved to be publicly shamed. As the anger settled inside me, I began to think of ways to get back at Asher. I wanted to hurt him like he had hurt me, and then I thought of Daniel. I hadn't seen or spoken to Daniel since Asher caught us together. But now, I found myself driving to his apartment, my heart racing with anticipation. When he opened the door, he looked surprised to see me, but then a slow smile spread across his face. "Remy," he said, his voice low and husky, "I've missed you." I didn't say anything. I just walked in, and he closed the door behind me. We didn't need words. Our bodies spoke for us. It was like we were picking up where we left off, the passion and desire still simmering between us. For a few hours, I forgot about Asher, forgot about my family, forgot about the shame and guilt. All I knew was Daniel's touch, his kiss, his love, and I knew I was in trouble because I didn't want to stop. I started leaving home to meet Daniel, sneaking around like a teenager. It was exhilarating and freeing, but also guilt-ridden and stressful. I knew I couldn't keep it up for long, but I couldn't help myself. I was addicted to Daniel, to the way he made me feel. We'd meet in secret, in hidden corners of the city, in parks and alleys, but the secrecy was taking a toll. I was constantly looking over my shoulder, worried that Asher or my family would find out. I was lying to everyone, to Asher, to my family, to myself. Another trouble began when I got caught by Sarah, Daniel's wife. I was meeting Daniel at a coffee shop when Sarah, Daniel's wife, walked in and saw us together. Her eyes widened in shock and anger, and I knew I was in trouble. Sarah's face twisted in fury as she took in the scene before her. She looked at me with disgust, her eyes blazing with anger. I felt a wave of shame wash over me as I realized I had been caught. Daniel tried to intervene, but Sarah was having none of it. She turned on him, her anger and betrayal evident on her face. The atmosphere was tense and uncomfortable, and I knew I had to get out of there. Sarah stormed out of the coffee shop, leaving us sitting there alone and ashamed. Sarah stormed back into the coffee shop, her anger still simmering. This time, she wasn't content with just confronting us. She wanted to humiliate me. With a fierce cry, she grabbed a cup of hot coffee from the counter and poured it all over me. I shrieked in shock and embarrassment as the scalding liquid soaked through my clothes and onto my skin. The coffee shop patrons gasped in horror, and I felt my face burn with shame. But Daniel didn't flinch. He didn't even glance at me as I sat there, dripping with coffee and humiliation. Instead, he took off after Sarah, chasing her out of the coffee shop and into the street. I watched in amazement as he followed his raging wife, trying to calm her down. He didn't seem bothered by the scene she had made, or the fact that I was sitting there covered in coffee. His only concern was Sarah, and I realized that he was still deeply in love with her. As I sat there, feeling embarrassed and alone, I knew that I had to face reality. Daniel was never going to leave Sarah for me. He was too invested in their relationship, too committed to making it work, and I was just a distraction, a temporary fling to spice up his life. The decline of our marriage reached its peak when Caddy fell severely sick with hemolytic uremic syndrome, HUS, a rare blood disorder that required urgent blood transfusions. I was devastated, feeling helpless as my daughter's health hung in the balance. Asher and I were both desperate to do anything to save her, and when the doctor mentioned that she needed blood donations, we both volunteered to donate. But when the test results came back, we were shocked to discover that Asher's blood group didn't match Caddy's. I felt a pang of guilt and regret, thinking about how our marital issues had distracted us from what truly mattered. Now, when our daughter needed us most, we couldn't even help her in the most basic way. Asher was visibly shaken, feeling helpless and frustrated that he couldn't donate blood to save his own daughter. I could see the anguish in his eyes, and for a moment, our differences were forgotten. But as we waited for the medical team to find a compatible donor, the tension between us returned. Asher couldn't look at me, and I couldn't blame him. I knew I had let him down, and now our daughter was paying the price. The wait was agonizing, but eventually, a compatible donor was found, and Caddy received the transfusions she needed. As she slowly recovered, I knew I had to make a choice: fight for my marriage or let it go. But as I looked at Asher, as Caddy recovered, Asher couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off, because the fact that Asher's blood group didn't match hers raised some questions. At first, we thought it was just a rare occurrence, but as we probed further, we realized that the chances of Asher's blood group not matching Caddy's were extremely low. We decided to go for a DNA test to confirm our suspicions. The wait for the results was agonizing, but when they finally came back, our world was turned upside down. The test revealed that Caddy wasn't Asher's biological daughter. We were both in shock, trying to process this new information. I felt like my whole world was crumbling around me. How could this be? I had been with Asher since before Caddy was born. Asher's face turned red with rage as he accused me of bringing another man's child into his home. His anger and hurt were palpable, and I knew I had no defense. As I stood there trying to process the revelation, a sudden realization hit me. Caddy might not be Daniel's daughter after all. I thought back to my past, to the affair I had ended abruptly. The week I ended it was the same week I discovered I was pregnant. Alex, my former lover, flashed into my mind. Could it be? Could Caddy be Alex's daughter? The possibility shook me to my core. I had always assumed that Caddy was Asher's daughter, but now I wasn't so sure. The incident sent Asher into a tailspin. He stopped coming home, instead spending all his time at the hospital with Caddy. I was shocked by his devotion, especially since he now knew she wasn't his biological daughter. One day, I overheard Asher on the phone talking to someone in hushed tones. He mentioned Caddy's name, and my heart skipped a beat as I listened. He said something about taking her to his mother's house once she was well enough, and how she would live with his family from then on. My mind reeled as I processed what I had heard. Asher was planning to take Caddy away from me, to raise her with his family. I felt a pang of fear and loss. Despite everything, Asher's actions showed me that he still cared deeply for Caddy. He was willing to put aside his own pain and anger to ensure her well-being. I knew I had to reach out to Alex to tell him about Caddy, but as I tried to contact him, I realized he had vanished from my life completely. His phone number was no longer in service, and his social media profiles were gone. I was left wondering if Alex would even want to hear from me after all these years. Would he be happy to learn about his daughter, or would he be angry and resentful? Would he even believe me? I thought about sending a letter or an email, but I hesitated. What if he didn't want anything to do with Caddy or me? What if he denied paternity or worse, rejected his own daughter? The uncertainty was suffocating me. I felt like I was carrying a secret that wasn't mine to keep, and the weight of it was crushing me. As I struggled to find a way to reach Alex, I couldn't help but think about Caddy's future. Would she grow up without knowing her biological father? Would she ever have a relationship with him? I know I have said a lot, but please Reddit, I am torn. I don't know what to do. Everything just presses down on my shoulder. I don't know if I should keep looking for Alex or let Asher take Caddy to his family when she gets better. Even though Asher already hated me, he wasn't planning to leave me. I don't know if I should leave myself because the guilt of what I have done is eating me up. I need advice, please.
Update.
I'm shocked, hurt, and honestly angry about the comments and inbox messages I've received. I expected empathy and understanding from this community, but instead, I've been met with judgment, anger, and even personal attacks. People are saying I'm not remorseful enough, that I'm still trying to justify my actions. Newsflash. I'm trying to process a complex situation here. I'm trying to figure out how to move forward, how to make the best decision for my daughter, and how to navigate my relationship with my husband. And to those who think I'm capable of having another affair after everything that's happened, are you kidding me? I'm barely holding my life together right now. I'm trying to pick up the pieces of my shattered relationships and move forward. The last thing on my mind is starting another affair. One commenter even said I'm milking my situation for attention. Excuse me? I'm trying to find a way to navigate this mess and make the best decision for my daughter. I'm not looking for sympathy or attention. I'm looking for guidance and support. I'm also getting messages saying I should just own up to my mistakes and move on. Easy for you to say, stranger. You're not the one living this reality. You're not the one who has to face the consequences of my actions every day. I thought Reddit was a place for support and advice, but I guess I was wrong. Some of you need to take a step back and reevaluate your own lives before judging mine. I'm trying to do the best I can here, and I deserve better than to be torn apart by strangers on the internet. Edit. I'm taking a break from responding to comments for now. Too much negativity. Update. I know I said I'd be taking a break from posting, but life had other plans. I wanted to give you all an update on my situation, but things took a turn for the worse. My daughter needed another blood transfusion due to hemolysis, a complication from her previous transfusion. Essentially, her immune system started attacking the donated blood, and we had to find a new donor ASAP. We were lucky to find a match, but it was a stressful and emotional roller coaster. Seeing my daughter go through that again was heartbreaking. I felt so helpless, watching her little body fight against the very thing that was supposed to save her. The hospital stay was a blur of tests, treatments, and worry. Asher was a rock, staying by our side the whole time, even though, well, you all know what's going on between us. I'm grateful for his support, even if our relationship is still uncertain. In the midst of all this, I haven't had the chance to think about my situation with Asher or reaching out to Alex. My priority is my daughter's health right now. Everything else can wait. I know some of you are invested in my story, and I appreciate your concern. I'll try to update you all when I can, but for now, I need to focus on my daughter's recovery. I've been thinking a lot about Asher and how he's been handling everything. Despite finding out that Caddy isn't his biological daughter, he's been absolutely amazing. He's been by her side through every hospital visit, every transfusion, every tearful moment. He's been a rock for both of us, and I don't know what I would do without him. But as much as I'm grateful for his support, I'm also worried about his emotional state. He's putting on a brave face for Caddy's sake, but I can see the pain in his eyes. I can sense the hurt and the anger simmering beneath the surface, and I don't know how to reach him, how to beg him for forgiveness. I feel like I've broken him, like I've shattered the trust and love we once shared. I don't know how to put the pieces back together again. I don't know how to make him see that I love him, that I need him, that I can't do this without him. I've tried talking to him, but he just says he needs time. Time to process, time to think, time to figure out what he wants. And I get it, I really do. But the waiting is killing me. The uncertainty is suffocating me. I just want to beg him for forgiveness, to plead with him to stay with me, to work through this together. But I don't know how. I don't know if I even deserve it.
Update.
I just wanted to take a moment to address the comments on my previous posts. Unfortunately, I'm still getting some pretty nasty messages from people who seem to take pleasure in my pain. To those people, I just want to say thanks for nothing. Your cruelty and judgment aren't helping anyone. But to the people who have been kind, who have wished my daughter well and offered words of encouragement, I want to say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your kindness means more to me than you'll ever know. Caddy is still recovering, and it's been a long and difficult road, but seeing her smile, seeing her laugh, it makes everything worth it. And knowing that there are people out there who care, who are rooting for us, it means everything. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm grateful for your forgiveness and understanding. I'm grateful for your humanity. And to those who are still struggling with my situation, I get it. I really do. I'm not asking for sympathy or absolution. I'm just asking for kindness. Let's try to be kind to one another, even when it's hard. Update. I'm not sure how much more I can take. Asher's family found out about my infidelity, and they're not happy. I don't blame them, really. I'm not happy with myself either. The guilt and shame I've been carrying around for months have finally caught up with me. They came to the hospital, pointed fingers at me, and made me feel like the lowest of the low. I couldn't even defend myself because what could I say? They're right. I messed up. I hurt the people I love most. I've been replaying that confrontation in my head nonstop, reliving the pain and humiliation. Since then, I've been in a downward spiral. I haven't even been able to go to the hospital to see Caddy because I'm too ashamed. I feel like I don't deserve to be around her, like I'm going to taint her with my presence. I've been avoiding Asher too, because I don't know how to face him. I feel like I've let him down in the worst possible way. Asher's been trying to be supportive, but I can tell he's struggling too. His family's anger and hurt are affecting him, and I don't know how to make it right. I feel like I've lost everything. My marriage, my family, my self-respect. I don't know how to get it back. I've been trying to remember the last time I felt happy, truly happy. I think it was before everything fell apart. Now I just feel empty and hollow. I go through the motions of daily life, but I'm not really living. Has anyone else ever felt like they've hit rock bottom? How did you climb back up? I need help. I need guidance. I need to know that there's a way out of this darkness. I'm scared that I'll never be able to rebuild what I've broken. I'm scared that I'll never be able to forgive myself. I'm scared that I'll never be able to find happiness again. Update. I wanted to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who has reached out to me with advice, support, and shared their personal experiences. Your words of encouragement and understanding have been a beacon of hope in a difficult time. I feel like I'm not alone in this mess, and that gives me the strength to keep moving forward. I took a step towards healing by reaching out to Asher's family to apologize and make amends, as some of you suggested. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I felt like it was necessary. I needed to take responsibility for my actions and acknowledge the pain I've caused. However, they declined to meet with me, citing the depth of their hurt and need for time to process. I understand their perspective and don't blame them. I'd feel the same way if I were in their shoes, but it's hard not to take it personally. It feels like another rejection, another reminder that I've messed up beyond repair. I'm trying to focus on the positive aspect of taking responsibility and making amends, even if it's not immediately accepted. I'm trying to see it as a step towards healing, even if it's just for myself. I'm trying to learn from my mistakes and become a better person. I'll continue to move forward, seeking forgiveness and working towards personal growth. I hope that someday I'll be able to rebuild trust in relationships. I hope that someday I'll be able to forgive myself. Thank you again for your support and guidance. It's invaluable to me during this challenging journey. Your words and experiences have given me hope and encouragement when I needed it most.
Update.
I wanted to share an update with you all about my situation. I've been feeling overwhelmed with guilt and shame, and I've been trying to figure out how to make things right with Asher. My infidelity has caused so much pain and hurt, and I don't know how to undo it. I've been apologizing to him nonstop, trying to express how deeply sorry I am for my actions. I know I can never go back in time and change what happened, but I want him to know that I take full responsibility for my mistakes. I'm not making excuses or justifying my behavior. I'm simply owning up to it and trying to make amends. As a result of my guilt and shame, I've decided to move out of our home for a while. I feel like I need to give Asher space and time to process his emotions, and I need to give myself time to reflect on my actions. I'm not sure how long I'll be gone, but I know it's necessary for both of us. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I'm committed to doing the hard work necessary to regain Asher's trust and respect. I love him and our family, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right. I know it won't be easy, and I know it won't happen overnight, but I'm willing to put in the effort. I know some of you may think I'm making a mistake by moving out, but I feel like it's necessary for both of us. I need to focus on my own healing and growth, and Asher needs time to figure out what he wants. I'm not giving up on our relationship, but I am giving us both the space we need. Thanks for listening, Reddit. Your support and guidance have meant the world to me during this difficult time. I don't know what I would do without this community. Update. I have some wonderful news to share with you all. Caddy has finally been discharged from the hospital after her treatment. I'm overjoyed to see my little girl smiling and laughing again. The past few weeks have been a roller coaster of emotions, but this moment makes everything worth it. She's been taken to Asher's family's house to spend some time with them, and I couldn't be happier. They've been amazing throughout this whole ordeal, providing love, support, and care to both Caddy and Asher. I'm so grateful to have them in our lives. Seeing Caddy again was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I felt like I could finally breathe again. She's still a bit weak, but her spark is back, and that's all that matters. Her smile lit up the room, and her laughter was music to my ears. I spent the day with her today, and it was like no time had passed at all. We cuddled, played, and just enjoyed each other's company. I felt like I was home again. I read her favorite books, sang her favorite songs, and just soaked up every moment with her. I know I still have a long way to go to regain Asher's trust and respect, but seeing Caddy happy and healthy makes everything worth it. I'm grateful for this second chance, and I won't waste it. I'll keep working on myself, on our relationship, and on being the best mom I can be. Thanks for your continued support and kindness, Reddit. Update. I wanted to make one last post to express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who has been a part of my journey on this subreddit. From the bottom of my heart, thank you to those who advised me, supported me, and even hated on me. Yes, I mean you too. Your input, whether positive or negative, has helped me grow and learn in ways I never thought possible. I have to admit, when I first started posting here, I was a mess. My life was falling apart, and I didn't know how to pick up the pieces. But with your help, I've been able to slowly start rebuilding. I've learned to take responsibility for my actions, to own up to my mistakes, and to seek help when I need it. I'm happy to report that I've taken the necessary steps to start rebuilding my life. I've got my own apartment now, and I've resumed work. It's been a challenge, but I'm determined to create a better life for myself and my daughter. I've started attending therapy sessions, and I'm working on rebuilding my relationship with Asher, even if it's just as co-parents for now. I want to thank you all again for being part of this journey with me. Your kindness, empathy, and honesty have meant everything. I'll be taking a break from this subreddit, but I'll never forget the impact you've had on my life. To those who are struggling, know that there is hope. Keep pushing forward, even when it feels like the darkness will consume you. Seek help, support, and guidance. And most importantly, be kind to yourself. Remember that everyone makes mistakes, and it's never too late to start again. This is my final post. I'm closing this chapter of my life and starting anew. Thank you for being part of it. Wishing you all love, light, and happiness. May we all find peace and happiness on our journeys.